Hi. Well, I've had the distinct honor to welcome Jenny Alton, who has been a very regular Melrose supporter, and we thank you for your support. And we're very happy to welcome you. So.
Yeah, Jenny!
Wait, you have Excuse me. Good Lord. Okay. Jenny Alton doesn't have a list of publications following her name. She has considered the comic merits of instead listing rejections, but even those aren't numerous enough to be impressive. She enjoys punctuating major life changes with travel, having recently returned from a 2,000-mile bicycle tour from Vancouver to San Diego before becoming an MFA candidate at San Francisco State. Wow. She has taught English in the northeastern Ukrainian town of Sumy with a Peace Corps from 2011 to 2013, where her mom mailed her a copy of the one journal she's been published in, Vertebrae. Jenny Alton.
Yeah. Woo, Jenny! Yeah, Jenny!
Those are the only good things I've done with my life. Right. And Nick did the bike ride too, so there we go.
Good job, Nick!
Woo! All right, thank you very much for having me. It's a great pleasure and honor. And I will begin. I'm going to read two stories. I'm going to check the time. What time is it? 7:31. All right. This one is called The Water Tower. She makes sure to take a picture of him. Wades shin deep into the Pacific Ocean, so near to their new house, hoping her fingers won't slip, waiting for him to catch a wave. When she has put the phone back into her bag and looks again at the ocean, the current has already taken him so far north she can't find him immediately. The water tower stands on a hill, with only its bulbous tank visible and white over the dunes. When viewed from the beach, its spindly legs only hinted at, it appears to be floating, alien-like, an errant weather balloon. A dog runs past, untethered, spraying sand into her open mouth and onto her blanket. She spits and watches the saliva contract with the change in temperature, drawing individual grains of sand around it and up, like the collar of a coat. Battered by the unfamiliar shore break, he exits the water instead of paddling south against the pull of the ocean, flowing under the bridge and into the bay. He walks past her, heading south, and waves, or stops to kiss her perfunctorily, and she wonders what they look like together through the eyes of the fully dressed people sitting on the dunes. She watches him overtaken by whitewash over and over again until he disappears. A dog uses her sloping back as a springboard to catch its ball and leaves faint gashes, pink welts in the spots it had used most for purchase before temporary flight. The dog's owners run up to apologize, to vouch for the dog's usually impeccable manners, and to assure her of the cleanliness of its claws. They'd been to the groomers only that morning. She questions the resources wasted, to think of the water alone, in taking a dog to the beach immediately after having it groomed, but doesn't say so. She rearranges her hair and twists her arm behind her to feel for blood, but there isn't any. The dog returns with the ball and places it reverently at its owner's feet. Well behaved indeed. It's a dog with long golden hair, and it does look clean. The owners hesitate at her silence, so she picks the ball up and throws it towards the ocean. The dog runs off, and the owners follow with less enthusiasm. She finally recognizes the snowy plovers, the signs along the beach caution recreators against disturbing. They settle in the dunes, they scuttle along the ebbing waterline, little heads bobbing and dashing down, short beaks submerged in wet sand. She'd laid out her blanket without noticing the proximity of tire tracks. The patrol truck swerves slightly west as it passes her, and she feels its rumbling weight through the sand and imagines the crunch of her splayed toes beneath its wheels. From their bedroom window, she tries to separate the sounds in her mind, freeway or ocean roar. Even a month into the new house, it is still a revelation. No freeway, just ocean roar. It echoes off the stucco houses as they crawl up gentle inclines. The streets are tunnels funneling noise that lands on the hardwood floors like a bag of rice being emptied, always. Other sounds are constant, though less enjoyable. The windows of the house are double-paned, but the house itself trembles when garbage or delivery trucks drive by, school buses. The first half-second, an unimpressive earthquake. Nothing discreet inside the house shakes except her body in its armchair. From her living room window, she decides that, in future, she will vacate her house during the hour the corner school lets out. The screaming of children and the imploring tone of negotiating parents are too much. She tells him she'll go out for a minute, that she'll take her book and her work and go to the beach. She packs a bag with blanket, papers, pens, and jacket. The bright sunlight makes her eyes water a little, and her calves are tight with the slope of the street that leads 6 blocks down to the beach. She waits for the traffic that comes in spurts and crosses the great highway against the lights. The sand is unexpectedly hot when it wedges between her feet and sandals. The moist patches of it wind down in rivulets from the light rain the night before, exposing harder stone and the root structures of ice plants. She reaches the crest of the dunes and makes sure to turn around and take a picture of her street from the beach, multicolored and cloudless. She wanders through the beach grass and finds an open patch, obscured but offering an ocean view. She lays out the blanket and takes out the papers, the pens. She folds her jacket so that it holds everything at an angle. It's too hot, and the sweat is already pooling in the hollows of her collarbones with hunched shoulders. She rearranges her hair. It's too hot, and she questions the differences between lying on the beach in your underwear and bra and lying on the beach in a bikini. It's too hot, so she takes off her jeans and she takes off her shirt, folds them and places them on some grass that has been flattened by the rain, protecting them from sand. Dogs run back and forth from their owners to the water, and the snowy plovers scuttle and flurry. The ocean roars and the sun beats. A voice behind her asks her if she knows there's someone wandering around up here, looking at her. She turns, and the voice is coming from a man with torn jeans and a weather-beaten gut. She says that no, she didn't know that. The man says, "Hold on, there he is." But she doesn't look in the direction he's pointing, and instead pretends to contemplate the ocean. She sees sweatpants and rubber sandals, sunglasses and bleached hair, and a can of beer in her periphery anyway. The man with the brown stomach suggests that she go down to the beach, informs her that there are a lot of weirdos wandering around up here, advises her that she should try to be safe. She thanks him, says that maybe she'd better go. That man has surely got too much sand in his sneakers. She thinks about the difference between lying on the beach where everyone can see you and lying on the beach where maybe only one weirdo can see you. Maybe the same as the difference between bikinis and underwear. Private, public, all of that. She pulls jeans and shirt on over sweat and packs her bag again. The man with the bleached hair and the beer can is walking down the dunes toward the great highway. He places his beer can in a recycling bin. He walks along the sand. The water tower doesn't look any less fragile from a closer vantage point, tiny legs still wondrously supporting all that weight. Rungs leading to an observation deck only start their climb almost 6 feet above the ground, but she jumps and grabs at them and eventually manages to extend one leg high enough, though she loses her bag while upside down. Some of the rungs are missing, but the ones that are there are sturdy and only superficially corroded. She can see a door that might open. The observation deck is floored with wooden boards, and she can see her bag and the ground through the gaps. She can see the great highway and the ocean and the dunes, and she can see the streets and the houses marching up the hills in straight lines. There are hawks flying above the trees in the park, and the ocean, even here, is roaring. She can't see the man with the bleached hair who'd held a beer can, though she'd followed him along the great highway at a close distance. He could feel her eyes on his back, she was sure, because he kept looking behind him, but they never made eye contact through sunglasses. She wanted him to feel threatened, to increase his pace, to hunch his shoulders and swing his arms stiffly. She wanted him to move through crowded places, trying to lose her, but he kept walking along the great highway and stealing glances back. At some point, he turned right at an intersection and headed into the wooded park. She didn't follow him then, but kept walking forward, the water tower growing closer. She watches the beginnings of a sunset from the observation deck, but the cloudless sky renders it less beautiful than she feels this vantage deserves. She lowers herself back down the spindly legs of the water tower, and when she lets go of the final rung and drops back to the earth, there's an ache in her ankles and her palms are rust-colored and smell like a playground. The walk back along the great highway is fine. The sunset is still unspectacular, and the streetlights turn on, throwing their orange sodium glow on the asphalt. Inside, it's still a little warm from the afternoon sun, but a night breeze is coming in through the kitchen window. He's in the shower, and she sits outside the door. She says that she's home, and he says that she was out for a while. She tells him about the man with the gut, and the man with the bleached hair and the beer can. She doesn't tell him about the water tower. She doesn't tell him about the difference between bikinis and underwear. The water turns off, and he opens the door, toweling and laughing. Something is being emptied onto the hardwood floor. Thank you. Got like a crick in my shoulder. It's a reading exercise. Okay, this is called The Jacket. Sure, okay. The Jacket. The old man is sitting on a park bench surrounded by caution tape. The caution tape is wrapped around 4 large trees, so perhaps the trees will soon be cut, and the caution tape is present to prevent pedestrians from entering the space into which massive branches will fall after being severed. But there aren't any chainsaws lying around, nor hydraulic baskets pushing tree trimmers into position, nor wood shavings suggesting the deed has already been done and mostly cleared away. Between 2 of the trees, the caution tape encircling the park bench has been torn down. It had been strung over a cement pathway, but now it is lying in ribbons, and the old man is sitting on the single bench the cement pathway leads to. It is possible that the old man tore down this section of caution tape. It is also possible that some teenagers might have done it, as the old man seems like the type who would lift the caution tape up over his head, pass underneath it, and then proceed to the bench, undisturbed. The old man is resting his hands in front of him on the curve of a cane. He has glasses and a hat, but I'm most interested in his leather jacket. The deep red leather presses close against his thin frame, and it's buttoned all the way to the top, though the day isn't particularly cold. It looks like something from the Civil War, double-breasted with 2 lines of large metallic buttons tapering down toward an incomplete V, and cropped short, ending just above the old man's belt. It's a nice jacket. I put the book I haven't been reading back into my bag, stand up from the picnic table I've been sitting at, and walk further down the pathway that will lead me to the old man and his jacket. I'm wondering how exactly I should approach the caution tape. Should I scuffle it underneath my feet and scoff a little, suggesting to the old man that a fellow rule breaker approaches? Or, conversely, someone exasperated by teenagers and broken rules, however he chooses to interpret it. I decide not to make a big deal about entering this space, casually stepping over the yellow plastic that's been stretched before it broke, rendering its message unreadable, and sit down on the edge of the bench with a practiced air of nonchalance. The old man doesn't acknowledge his new cordoned-off bench companion, still staring ahead through his glasses. I hope he hadn't noticed me sitting at the picnic table earlier. I crane my neck a little. It's not really in his line of sight, I don't think, but it's not like I've been following every movement of his head. I take out my phone and check the various things that need checking, but not much has happened since I checked them all last. I sigh, sliding it back into my pocket, and do an exaggerated look around, up at the canopy above and the caution tape below. My gaze falls onto the old man sitting at the other end of the bench and lingers like I'd just noticed him. I like your jacket. That's a nice jacket. I've got a motorcycle, the old man replies, still looking forward. The jacket doesn't look like one designed for riding a motorcycle. I can't detect any metal plating underneath, or whatever it is that supports the elbows and vital organs in the event of a crash, in the event that the jacket and the person it contains is skidding over the asphalt, grinding down cowhide until the metal, or whatever, is exposed, and hopefully the skidding stops before the metal is in turn all ground away and the old man's flesh begins. It doesn't look like a motorcycle jacket, I say. It looks like something from the 19th century, except it's leather and a lovely deep red. Where'd you get it from? Maybe he used to ride a motorcycle. Maybe. I survey the hands resting on his cane, and they seem steady enough. This place has been taped off for at least a week, the old man starts, with this bench right here in the middle. I thought it was because the bench was freshly painted. It did seem to have that wet shine, that newness. But the tape was up for so much longer than it takes paint to dry. I had hoped for a designer's name and the decade, something I could look up on eBay or Craigslist, bid for or buy outright. The deep red color is one that's really in right now, I've read, to be worn with a pair of opaque tights and a black skirt, much shorter than one you'd wear without the tights. Add something hugely jeweled and you'd have a New Year's outfit for sure. It was you that pulled the tape down then? I was thinking that maybe the caution tape was here because they were going to trim the trees. Have they trimmed the trees? Do you know if they're going to trim the trees? Does it look as though these trees need trimming to you? The old man finally turns to look at me. I hadn't thought of that. It's a possibility, I continue. I don't think they've done it yet. Usually they butcher trees, I think. They take off far too much, maybe so they won't need to come back again too soon, or for other more arboreal purposes. Have you seen what they do to walnut trees, or almond trees? Any type of nut tree. They have these great big machines, like tractors with a raised arm and chainsaws or something at the end. They drive through the orchard, cutting off the tops of trees so that everything is level. I think it's to encourage the tree to put most of its energy into producing nuts, instead of reaching up towards the sky. Something like that. Sounds reasonable, the old man replies, and stands up, much more quickly than I would have expected given the cane. I didn't tear down the caution tape. It was like that this morning. He swings the cane forward a little, and his feet follow. Totally fine. He's leaving. I didn't mean to bother you, but really, that's a nice jacket. Where did you get it? I toss my words to him, little beanbags that slap against the back of his leather jacket and flop onto the pavement. I've got a motorcycle. I'll show it to you. The motorcycle is parked perpendicular to the curb, and it pokes significantly into the bike lane, which is annoying. I'd have to move into traffic to pass it, and would end up becoming evidence in someone's story about how cyclists are entitled and erratic. The stupid girl in a skirt with a basket on the front, another ridiculous example. There's a sidecar, which might make the motorcycle wider than it is long. The machine is low-slung, old-fashioned. The old man points to the round helmet in the sidecar and secures the straps of his own snugly beneath his chin. I push the helmet on and immediately feel like an idiot. My cheeks are squashed together like the chubby kids in ancient ads for Campbell's soup, but the helmet still manages to wobble a little when I shake my head from side to side. It's a bad fit. It's a terrible fit. I've got a really small head, I tell the old man, still shaking it in demonstration. He pulls something from his jacket's pocket and clips tinted frames over his normal ones. He reaches out and takes hold of my helmet, shakes it himself. Make sure the strap under your chin is tight. If it's too loose, you may as well not be wearing a helmet at all. It can fly right off your head, but only if you don't tighten the chin straps properly. I weave the nylon through the rings and pull, still skeptical. I don't even know how to ride a motorcycle. I can't even drive a stick shift, so I have to sit in the sidecar. I feel stupider. My legs feel cramped. The old man hands me his cane to hold. It usually goes in the sidecar, he says, and I'm wondering exactly how it fits in here, even without a person inside. The sidecar is so small, the cane must rattle and bounce with each imperfection in the road. I hold the cane horizontal above my knees, like it's a safety bar or a roller coaster, hoping I drop it. Hoping I don't drop it, rather. The motorcycle with its sidecar matches the leather jacket, not so much in color as in style, but I still don't believe it was designed for this. The old man turns a key or flips a switch, and the motorcycle bursts into gas-burning, cochlea-busting life. It smells terrible. The engine needs to warm up, the old man shouts through the exhaust, and I'm coughing and looking away from it all. Across the field, there's another grove of trees, cordoned off in caution tape. I can't tell if there's a bench in the middle or not. The old man throws a leg over the seat and revs the engine. We're going through the park to the cliffs, I hear. It's midday and there isn't a lot of traffic. The old man on the motorcycle and me in the sidecar holding his cane pass fields and groves and man-made waterfalls that pour into opaque green ponds, thick with ducks and geese. I'm so low to the ground, it rushes past and I'm not sure how fast we're going. And I'm going to end it early because of time and also because this is the paper that doesn't have the last page that I saved from workshop.